All right. Hey, guess what? Good morning. I know there is no song, sorry. That's because I was in conversation with a senior individual of the Guyana Police Force who has indicated again, and I presume that it was to um, to reiterate their story, their side of the story, that this press conference, and I hope you guys are hearing me loud and clear before I get right into the press conference, because this is about the press conference that I want you guys to see. And let me know whether there's any audio. I've noticed that there are people who are saying that there's no audio. Let me know whether you're hearing me loud and clear so that I can make the introduction before getting into the controversial police press conference and something that they're denying. The police force, they're denying that this press conference was ever recorded by them, which is highly suspicious. According to a top police source, and that caused the delay of this broadcast for about 5 minutes, is that there is no recording. My question to the source is, why wasn't there any recording? There is no plausible response. There was no plausible response to that question. Why no recording? This is an important press conference, yet no recording. Now, I asked several questions about the startup of the press conference and that the fact that the PRO, I believe the PRO, standing to the left where that arrow is pointed, uh, did the introduction. Now, I don't know what's the PRO position or who was actually responsible to ensure that this press conference was actually recorded. And the acting commissioner of police is sitting there at the start of the press conference. Next to him is the crime chief, Mr. Blanham. Now, the question is, and this was asked last evening, and this was asked by the senior top police force individual that I just had a conversation with. And I say this in the interest of transparency. Now, according to the source, that camera on the top of the screen that you're seeing there was actually on, and that it is usually on to play whatever is in that conference room. And now, I objected to that to say that the screen on the right is actually the screen on the right and the camera on top. You cannot run something knowing that it's something that the Guyana Police Force is doing, a press conference, and not make any recording. That is highly suspicious. The other side of the screen, which is the left side, is the projector that they had, whatever it is that the crime chief wanted to display. And you see they have Bascom there. Bascom is actually the target. And maybe this explains why they're rushing to say there was no recording, there's nothing, and this is an embarrassment to the entire Guyana Police Force. This is an embarrassment that you have such a recording concerning a whistleblower that they're still refusing to protect. That is Police Sergeant, Detective Sergeant Bascom, Dion Bascom. They're refusing to protect, and they have thus far refused to question this guy whether he knows anything about the murder of Paper Shorts or not. This guy happens to be Azardine Mohammed, a friend of Irfan Ali and a friend of the acting top cop, and along with the security guard of the Mohammed's enterprise he has not been questioned about the murder of Paper Shorts. And so this is what the press conference is all about. Allegations leveled against Caesar and other top cops by Detective Sergeant Bascom. So they called this press conference to explain their side of the story, which didn't help. It didn't do anything to help them at all, period. And so At this press conference, they label Bascom, they call him all sort of names, liar, and everything. Bascom decided to file a private criminal charge against, having to do with cybercrime bullying against Mr. Blanham, the crime chief. The DPP stepped in immediately to ensure that those charges were not going to see the light of day in court. And so she discontinues private cybercrime charge, sorry, not private criminal charge, but private cybercrime charge filed against the crime chief. The DPP discontinued those charges. And so after the police turned up, the police special prosecutor refused to hand over the tape. When asked by the magistrate, the special prosecutor, Mandel Moore, is claiming that the tape does not exist. The tape does not exist. That's all he has been saying. But yet the evidence proves that there is a high possibility that they recorded this this press conference. Look at the evidence. It suggests that they recorded the press conference, and I don't know why. Maybe it is pretty obvious why they do not want the public or do not want to present that as evidence in the court. Hence, a rebroadcast of this entire police press conference, and I believe it was on August the 17th. Listen to this press conference, you be the judge. And if the police force, if they want a copy of it, they're free to record, they're free to present it in court, and it's coming live. On that day, it was broadcast live right here on 107.1 FM. So as we prepare to head into that press conference, prepare to uh, do a rebroadcast of the press conference, we ask you, members of the public, the viewing audience, and the listening audience, to be the judge in this particular situation and to say who is doing the lying. Is the police lying? Is the general public lying? Or what is it that's happening here? In my view, the police is straying from the truth. Let's get right into that press conference.
Ladies and gentlemen, please note that some of what you're going to be seeing and hearing has explicit language. So we would like to have you caution if this is going live, to caution some of the viewers, but it is necessary for what the DCLE is about to do in this presentation.
You can change some things.
Anything any better now? Blair.
You want to play the video? Ready to start? Good evening, Commissioner of Police, senior officers from the Ghana Police Force, members of the media, thank you for coming. This evening, we are here to debunk the false allegations made by Sergeant Leon Boscom. And let me go right into the presentation. So as you are there, Leon Boscom alleges that Rhonda Marcus was just put in as a suspect for more than 18 charges, and that he was supposed to be killed to take the fall for the murder of Mr. Collins. However, what is important to note is the Ghana police force wishes to submit that it was Roger Collins, who is his lawyer, who made the claim that Rhonda Marcus was one of the suspects captured on the CCTV footage who opened fire on the unrecorded for on this. Connor also said that he has information that Mark Richmond was the driver of the getaway car. So Boston's claims are malicious and untrue. And what the Ghana police force has also sought to do is to provide evidence. And this is a WhatsApp conversation between the lawyer for Roger Khan and the police. Roger Khan, through his attorney at law, and this is the facts, Roger Khan, through his attorney at law, provided the information to the police on the 1st of April 2021 via WhatsApp at 1800 hours and sent the telephone numbers for Rondell Bacchus and Mark Richmond. He also sent pictures of Rondell Bacchus and that of several men in uniform. You have the WhatsApp information there. We're giving you credible information, we're giving you evidence to support our position. So the Ghana Police Force, the Criminal Investigation Department, investigators did not take the information at face value. What was done is that checks were made at the prison since the last information that was fed to the police was that Rondell Bacchus may or may not be in prison. A senior prison official indicated that he was no longer in prison as Rondell Bacchus. But what he further ventured out to say is that, that there's information or chatter from prisoners that one of the men in the video footage obtained at the crime scene appeared to be Rondell Bacchus. That's information which you are able to confirm with an official from the Ghana Prison Service. As a result, checks were made at the place of abode for Mr. Rondell Bacchus, but these checks proved futile. Moving on, contacting and arresting Mr. Bacchus became a matter of urgency as investigators need to have the hands smug for gunshot residue. And information, as I said, we didn't take it at face value. We got other sources also, right? We confirmed, we show them the videos, the videos that we retrieved at the crime scene, and they're saying that it may or may not be Rondell Bacchus. So as I said before, we're showing evidence to support our position that the police didn't target Rondell Bacchus as is being falsely peddled by Mr. Dion Boston. We have evidence to show that from day one, it was Mr. Khan through his attorney at law. Let me go to the next slide. Apparently, this is not working. Good. A wanted bulletin, this our response to his allegations that a wanted bulletin was issued on the 6th of April 2021 for Randall Bacchus, and 1 hour later he turned himself in with his attorney at law, and not in company of Mr. Dion Bascom, as he was seen misleading the public on during his Facebook Live, claiming that the police wanted to kill Randall Bacchus. A screenshot of the Culture News article confirming this is shown to the right. The police station diary of the Criminal Investigation Department also confirms that Mr. Bascom is being untruthful. Conclusion. Based on the foregoing, Dion Bascom's claim that he brought information about Mark Richmond to the police, which he said also is easily debunked as a deliberate falsehood and malicious in nature. That he brought Randall Bacchus to the police is a deliberate falsehood and malicious in nature. And it's not, you're not only getting information from the police, you have the information there, the clippings from the media. Let us go to Mr. Mark Richmond. His name was being making rounds on social media and print media. Dion Bascom did admit that the police made efforts to contact Mr. Mark Richmond and even search his residence. Moving on. After the search of the residence for Mark Richmond, Bascom allegedly informed one of his superiors, the popular businessman from Essequibo, was using him to go after Mark Richmond, who's known to him. Investigators have knowledge that Bascom and the said businessman are close friends. Their close links were already established by investigators. So, in concluding, based on the foregoing, Dion Bascom's claim that no further action was taken in relation to Mark Richmond are clearly misleading and false, since it was he who told investigators that it was a businessman from Essequibo who had a personal problem with Mark Richmond's employer. He further indicated that the businessman wanted to use him. Moving on to the next slide.
Said I was transported because I got the information that I showed you about this guy Mark Richmond that threatened me. Right? So I got transported because I got the information about somebody threatening me. And I let the report to someone and I'm leaving up.
This is another blatant lie that was told by Mr. Dion Bascom. As you can see on your right, you have a WhatsApp message between the journalist who spoke to Mr. Bascom, confirming that Mr. Bascom was in contact with him, and he did not mention Mr. Bascom's name in the article. And he said he wanted to protect Mr. Bascom. So there you have it. Dion Bascom claimed he never leaked any information to the press. Journalists confirmed that Dion Bascom was his source, and he did not name him because the guy needed protection, as is shown in the screenshot to the right. Why Bascom has to lie about this? We all know why. Conclusion: based on the foregoing, Bascom claimed that he didn't leak information to the press is easily debunked as being false, untrue, and malicious in nature. So you have the information there on the slide, and we're going to provide you with information. We did not indicate the name of the reporter or which media entity that report is working. Moving on to the next slide. So you have the information there.
They use everything and they try out your heads to forget how fucking technologies work. You understand? The park up outside. We park up outside, we have show one laptop and check the number. When you put your Mark Richmond number, they show that was on the spot. The 90 fucking paper sharks.
Mr. Bascom's claims are absurd, ridiculous, and at the same time hilarious. I've had colleagues from other Caribbean territories who called me and asked me to borrow that device that we have, whereby you can go to a scene, a crime scene, and input the number for a suspect, and automatically the number comes up. Let me state clearly that the Guyana Police Force does not have any device to identify criminals at the crime scene, as was falsely peddled by Boston. For the Guyana Police Force technical officer, we have one technical officer, has denied these claims by Boston, as he maintains that Boston was never at the crime scene with him. Therefore, Boston is not being honest once again in this regard, is manufacturing false or concocted information out of malice. I'm not getting into change.
Mr. Dana, was responsible for me to journey, from time to time, tell them to put in the trouble. You got to go right to time, tell that Mr. Dana, tell them to put in the trouble.
This is another astonishing claim by Mr. Boston. We have the evidence to support the contrary to what was spelled by Mr. Boston. Boston said that the police was responsible for his picture being leaked to the media. Please see screenshot of media personnel being directed to the head of Kanu for information on Boston's arrest. Once again, we have the evidence, and that's why we're sharing it with members of the public. On the final slide, false allegation about police cover-up. What is unknown to Mr. Bascom is that the Guyana Police Force is currently being assisted by an internationally recognized law enforcement agency in conducting the recording of this murder. Several foreign experts / investigators visited the CID headquarters, that is Unit Initial Station of Patrol, and provided valuable assistance to our investigators. Let me hasten to say also that the items recovered from the crime scene were also sent overseas for analysis. We're still awaiting the results from the analysis. This is unknown to Mr. Boston. So you're pointing fingers that the Guyana Police Force is covering up this investigation. Are you pointing fingers also to say that our overseas counterparts are also covering up this investigation? That is how ridiculous and absurd these allegations are. So in concluding, I want to submit that the Guyana Police Force wishes to submit that the Boston is not being honest, and he is manufacturing false or concocted information out of malice against members of the Guyana Police Force, and it all stems from his arrest and detention by Kanu investigators. And finally, the head of Kanu will have also released a press statement debunking claims made by Mr. Moss. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, and that's the extent of my brief.
Thank you very much, Deputy Commissioner for enforcement. We know that it is a busy time, close to the end of the cycle. So what we will do through the chair, which is the acting commissioner of police, open the floor for just 5 questions. If you can identify your media house and ask a question, and the question will be answered.
News source. Mr. Commissioner, quickly, this seems like a very unusual step. The Guyana Police Force, after putting forward a case of the DPP and awaiting advice, coming out to present evidence to the media. There was no press conference when Magundas was shot. There was no press conference with so many other high-profile cases. Why the need to come out and do a PowerPoint presentation to go line by line if you're so convinced that what this gentleman has been saying is all wrong? Have you been directed to come before the media?
No, first of all, I am the acting commissioner and I'm superintendent of public force. It's it's a sergeant of police making these type of allegations. And so that is a senior subordinate officer. And we thought it is necessary for us to do just what we did here. Our press conference declared that. And so we're still waiting on the findings of the DPP, the investigation. But this was necessary. You are known why it's necessary. That is not a constable, that's a sergeant. That's right.
Commissioner, sir, could you say what investigation was done when the statement by Mr. Basta was in two of the police statements in February of this year? Because apparently this is the records. So what did we do before this public outburst in Facebook?
Dennis, as a good friend, let me answer you this way. I was not the acting commissioner.
You were not.
The acting commissioner in February.
I know, but what the police force is an institution. When the reports were first filed, one to the police station, two to the VR.
Like I said, as a commissioner, I superintend over the force now, and I can tell you what I did when I took over the helm of the force. Prior to that, I was deputy commissioner operations, responsible for the commissioner who was then Slender.
Could Mr. Glenn tell us what the police force probably done at that time when those reports were filed?
Which report are you referring to?
Statements made by Mr. Basta to the police force in February.
An investigation was conducted by the Office of Professional Responsibility, and that is to the best of my knowledge. And Mr. Boscom denied ever speaking to the press. So in terms of the status of that investigation, I think now with the evidence that we have, the evidence will be sent to the OPR for them to conduct further investigation.
But apart from the whether or not he spoke with the press, there were similar claims that were made in those statements that he has made now. And secondly, as Mr. Caesar been questioning of these investigations.
If you were speaking before in February, I'm not going to respond to that. Like I said, I wasn't at the helm of the force then. If you're speaking to now, OPR is dealt with the investigation and the file was submitted based on their findings. When we would have had the legal advice, we're going to make that public.
If I may, I'm not aware that in February, when the matter was first ventilated, that he made any allegation about corruption and pointing fingers at Mr. Caesar. I'm not aware of that. Now he's making allegation about Mr. Caesar being involved in corruption. Mr. Caesar since retained an attorney at law, and he is preparing to commence civil litigation.
Thank you, Mr. Shabbat.
About receiving a threat from the suspect. First, he said that the suspect instructed him to arrest the suspect for the station. And then he said that after he received the threat, he made a report to the Bricktown police station. When police confirmed that such a report was made.
Well, continue.
And was any investigation done?
Okay. First and foremost, the information that was submitted to me is that Boston claimed that an individual called him and said, if he wants me, come and get me at XYZ place. Whether that's a threat or not, I won't be able to say. And I don't want to get my mouth diverted. As is customary, every police detective, they will tell you that from time to time, persons will threaten them. And the standard operating procedure will be always made an occurrence. Mr. Boscom, to the best of my knowledge, was advised to go to Breakdown Police Station and make a report. The Criminal Investigation Department, we do not investigate threats. So a report, as I was told, was made at the Breakdown Police Station. Whether Mr. Boscom follow up with his report or not, I won't be able to say. Mr. Boscom, as Commissioner mentioned, and you always sergeant of police, the support officer. So,
Next question.
Mr. Commissioner, going back to Mr. Bascom and this entire situation now, and I'm coming back to why the need to come before the media. There was an accident recently where someone was hit down, a fatal accident involving a particular member of a particular family. And we saw the police force rush to put out video surveillance. Now again, there's that particular family being named in this. And we see the police force for the first time in about 3 years, by my count, coming before the media to deal with this situation. Is the police force being forced to come out and defend some of these cases because of its particular cozy relationship with some members of the business community?
Gordon, I'm not going to speak to previous commissioners.
These all happen after February.
No, I don't need to. You're my friend, and I won't change that. Come on, I'm not like that. No, outside of the press conference that we had, we didn't rush the press conference. You're a journalist. You know when this incident occurred. Today is Wednesday, and so rush came 24 hours after. We didn't rush anything. Gardner's a sergeant, and the influence that can be had on the general populace is that this man is a sergeant and he must know what he's saying. And it's important for us as we go forward to regain that trust based on perception of theirs. And this is necessary. I was saying at the helm of the force, I'm transforming this force into a more contemporary police force where we're open and we can deal with members of the public one-on-one. And so there is no rush or there is no influence over this. This is generally, and you know me, this is generally my side of policing. And this will continue to prevail. Thank you, Gordon. And please, my friend, would have to change.
And if I may, Commissioner Gordon, maybe this is the first press conference that you've attended in 3 years. Our last press conference we addressed the issue in Escribo when the SWAT member allegedly shot a civilian.
It was not virtual, I mean in person.
Oh, well, we got COVID.
And sir, I know you mentioned that the police force is not in possession of any equipment that can sort of triangulate phone calls or phone numbers. Are you aware, or could you say that it's a practice for police members to use their private devices with personal software that can essentially do some of these things to aid them in, their crime fighting tactics or their crime fighting investigations? Don't police officers use their own stuff at night?
I cannot speak to something that I'm not aware of. And I'm not, as I said already, we're maintaining our position regarding the police force. He's claiming that an officer went to the computer. This is not cell phone, Mr. Gordon. A computer, as we said, at court, and then put some information on this particular individual telephone number came up. That is not true. Not a cell phone, I'm telling you about a computer. We have obtained a statement from the lone technical officer debunking the false allegation that he made against him.
Do you think Bascom is still fit to serve in the Gallon Police Force?
I don't prejudge issues.
But you're here on the case laying it out.
But Gordon, let me just remind you that you're a friend, so you're going to pull the job, you don't need that.
Well, just for the microphone.
Police men and women took a note, and there is some ethical behavior in our enforcement. I made a press statement that some going to the media and using these profanities publicly, other than the allegations that were made against senior ranks, that is unbecoming as a witness. There's a process, disciplinary process, to deal with such a behavior. And so, for that process to commence, we await the findings or the legal advice of the DGP. I can tell you, there's a process that must be followed.
We seem to be having some technical problems at their end, not our end. I just thought I'd make that point lucidly clear to you, that some audio problems at their end. We'll try to see how quickly we can have that fixed so that you guys can continue with listening to the Nancy stories that we're hearing. What's in the middle of the screen there, you're seeing the polygraph test that policemen took about 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago. That's as a result of that was taken through the U.S. Embassy. A lot of senior officers failed that polygraph test exam, failed it. And that piece of information that is not properly suited across, fitted across the screen, you can see it says secret there. It's a document which we do have in our possession with all of the police officers, every single one of them who have actually passed and those who have failed their polygraph test. But as soon as we get the audio back up and running, I just want to clear a few things that this misinformation being peddled by some of these senior police officers, especially when I believe it's Mr. Blanham who said that, or give the impression that foreign or folks in other law enforcement agencies outside of Guyana do work with them on, and hinted at there's a possibility that foreign law enforcement officers may have been working on the Forgotten case. That I can say it doesn't sound as though it is something that is credible at all. Far from that. But let's check what's the situation with the audio, and we'll be back. All right, sorry about that. They're coming to the end of that press conference. It should be wrapping up in just about a minute. There's not really much more that we can listen to that, but I just want to make a couple of points. First of all, let's touch on this hastily put together press conference. Irfan Ali is currently out of the country in Trinidad and Tobago on a quote-unquote state visit. He met with the acting commissioner of police, Mr. Clifton Hicken, and instructed Hicken to do exactly. We can just basically place that educated guess that Irfan Ali instructed Hicken to host a press conference. And this is the reason why this is the reason why this press conference has been held minutes ago. The other thing is, it's coincidental, right? That 15 minutes prior to the press conference, this guy, who happens to be, his name is calling, and his company, he being a suspect in the murder of Forgotten, along with a security guy from his company. And now these guys have been silent throughout the process, throughout this murder investigations and so forth. And suddenly the murder investigation shut down, completely shut down. We heard nothing from anyone about what was going on. And the family members of Mr. Fagundes, who was murdered, were basically kept in the loop. They just didn't know what was happening. And no one took the time, absolutely no one took the time to explain to the family what's the situation with their loved one. That is Fagundes, who was murdered. So everyone remained quiet for all these months. Over a year, they have remained surprisingly quiet. Now, suddenly, everyone is rushing. Everyone is rushing to make a statement. Everyone is rushing to make a statement on this particular stuff. They were quiet all along. Now, here's why they're rushing to make a statement. They're basically saying that this guy, policeman, Detective Sergeant Bascom, is lying. And they want us, or they want the public to believe them and not to believe Bascom. I don't know. The math for me is not adding up. There's too many coincidences, too many. For example, Irfan met with Ali. Irfan met with Hicken. Hicken rushed to a press conference. Mohammed, Azardine Mohammed, issued a release about 30 minutes ago, just before this press conference. All these things, I'm telling you guys, all these things, I can safely say that most Guyanese, we were not born yesterday. All these things, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't look good in the eyes of the public, and it doesn't look good for members of the Guyana Police Force. It just doesn't look good at all. Now, we heard that the file, sorry, I'm being distracted with several messages. The file concerning, here's a lie, and I haven't noticed any comment or any question from members of the media as it pertains to this guy, whether this guy was part of an investigation with OPR, and OPR is the Office of Professional Responsibility. It's supposed to be professional, right? It's headed by a former senior police officer. That's how it's done. Former senior police officer. Now, if you have read the statement by his lawyer, this guy's lawyer, Nigel Hughes, it simply said that nobody investigated, nobody interviewed, Mr. Bascom. No one interviewed him. No one got his side of the story. Yet, mind you, just got to break these things down easily. Mind you, know if there is an investigation, and according to Mr. Hicken, that it was concluded, and the file was sent to the DPP. Listen again. According to Mr. Hicken, there was an investigation, and after the investigation completed, the file was sent to the DPP. And now here's the question. What's in that file? What investigation? Just basically, here's what. Ask maybe the officer, the senior officer, that is Caesar, whether the accusations leveled against him are true or not. He gave a statement. A couple of other officers gave a statement. And so they all got together to give a statement, nothing different from what we've heard here now. And this is how these guys are selling themselves up. And they submitted that statement with what Mr. Bascom said on his Facebook pages. And they submitted that to the DPP. Now, when you hear back from the DPP, the DPP is going to say that there's nothing there. And this diabolical conspiracy is out to make Bascom look as though he's a liar. Now, I'm not putting my head on the block for Bascom. I'm not putting on my head on the block for anybody in this particular situation. But there are things that Bascom said. And it's nothing new than what we have been hearing about the Fagundes murder for over 1 year now. So Bascom is not saying anything different from what we have already heard. Nothing at all. So for them to come out so hastily, wanting to paint Bascom now as the culprit, Bascom, look, hey, let me say this to you guys. I am not bothered about Bascom's alleged infraction or whatever in the past. I'm not bothered. That's not the issue here for me. Sorry about that. That is not the issue here for me. What I'm concerned about is the serious allegations that Mr. Bascom is leveling against members of the Guyana Police Force and other individuals, painting a picture that there is a cover-up, and the cover-up in the murder of Fagundes has to do with this guy. This guy, and that's what Bascom is saying the cover-up has to do with this guy, who is a friend of almost all of those folks in office. He's a friend of Irfan Ali. We are hearing things quite unrelated to this, that he may have gifted vehicles to Irfan Ali and Irfan Ali's wife. Right after Irfan Ali was sworn in, as he is now, they claim that he is the president, but right after he was sworn in, vehicles were donated to Irfan Ali. Now, I don't know whether this guy, Azardine, and his company actually gifted Irfan Ali 2 heavily tinted vehicles, bulletproof. I don't know. I also don't know whether this guy, Azardine, gifted Irfan Ali a vehicle that Irfan was using before he was sworn in. Now, it's up to Irfan Ali to respond to that. It's up to Azardine Mohammed to respond to that, because Azardine seemed to be on, on a mission of responding to things now. He has released, Azardine, just prior to the press conference, he has released a statement saying and accusing another gold dealer of being corrupt, of being complicit in murder, of being sexual impropriety, all manner of things against another individual, and claiming that that individual is setting Bascom up to say and do what he's doing. Now, I'm not too bothered about that. And we shouldn't be bothered about this personal war between Azardine and some other businessman, maybe, or so-called businessman, with these so-called businessmen fighting each other. That's irrelevant. What is relevant is going back to the murder case of Mr. Fagundes and why a proper investigation was not conducted. Why was Mark Richmond not arrested? And Mark Richmond is a security guy attached to Azardine Mohammed's, him and his father's business. That is what we want to hear, and that is what the police should be doing. That is my focus. I'm not going to get into this this spat between two quote-unquote businessmen fighting down each other, who did this and who that, and who is clean and who is not clean. I'm not bothered about that, right? That is for outside law enforcement agencies, law enforcement agencies outside of Guyana. That's for them to take care of whenever they are ready to probably stretch their hands in Guyana and snatch whomever they have to snatch, and send them before the courts in the US. That's for law enforcement agencies outside. And I don't want these so-called businessmen telling me that, or telling the public that they are clean in Guyana, and the Guyana police force know that they're clean, and who. I'm not bothered about that. What we should be concerned about, and we should not be misguided, we should not be distracted at all. What I am concerned about, or we all should remain concerned about, is what this guy has said. What this guy has said. And I've noticed somebody saying something about James Bond and what James Bond said. We don't discuss James Bond here. We deal with serious issues, man. You know, please, no distraction. We deal with serious issues here. So if James Bond issued something on his Facebook page in support of Muhammad that you can't keep a good man down, that is James Bond's prerogative. You know, everybody got to survive somehow. I'm a talk show host. I survive. James Bond got to survive. All right. So if James Bond is siding with this guy, you know, I don't know. I don't know. So let us get back. Let us not be distracted at all. Just let us not be distracted. Um, you'll find some of the trench crappos coming up and so forth. But look, back to this thing. These guys have their personal war going on, and I don't want to get involved in that. Right? I want to get involved with what this guy is saying, and there should be an investigation as to whether this guy, what he has said, whether. All right. As you know, that was pre-recorded. When I say pre-recorded, that's an old recording that we decided to replay because the police force, they're claiming that um, they don't have that recording. And as I indicated in the beginning of this live broadcast, it is now live, mind you. So what you're seeing now is live. So as you see, I'm taking my pen out of my pocket to show you guys that we are live and we are recording. Unlike the guy in the police force, here's what's troubling. The guy in the police force, you would expect them to record an important thing such as a press conference. They record everything else. They record everyone. They walk around. They record. Protests. They record every single thing. They record Aubrey Norton whenever he is on the beat. They record everything. They have recording devices for those things. Isn't it kind of like suspicious that an important press conference is that they're now claiming that they have no recordings of it, none whatsoever. It's highly suspicious indeed. Now, there's something that the crime chief said, that caught my attention in that at that press conference. The crime chief said that foreign law enforcement agencies have collected evidence in the murder of Fagundes. And now my question is, and that the foreign security agencies, agents of those foreign security agencies collected evidence and they took it away and they were supposed to give back. This is over a year. Can the crime chief say which foreign security agent took away evidence to probably build on the case? What were the evidence and for what purpose? Why would a foreign agency step in to conduct an investigation in a local murder? Unless, of course, there's a bigger picture. And the bigger picture is that the foreign law enforcement agents probably might be after a bigger fish. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to wink at you when I say a bigger fish. But at the end of the day, it is just not adding up. Why? And what evidence they took away to assist the police force? Over 1 year, they took the evidence away and they haven't. I noticed somebody saying that like a foreign agency went to China. Maybe you're correct, Maria. Like the foreign agency went to China indeed. I know a lot of you guys are laughing at the situation, and rightly so. You guys need to laugh at the situation because this is worse than nothing to laugh about in terms of real comedy. In fact, that's real comedy. I mean, of course, nothing to laugh about probably, and no big thing and all these things here. We'll have serious competition with that police press conference or what's coming out of the police press conference and releases these days and the DPP chambers, because we already know what is happening. And so I want the crime chief to say, and mind you, don't be fooled. The crime chief is a law, what is it? He graduated from law school. He should be admitted to the bar. I don't know. Why is it some of us who ought to be admitted to the bar aren't admitted to the bar, aren't practicing law? I don't know. But when you walk in the courtroom again, sometimes you wonder. I'm not painting all the lawyers with the same brush or whatever, mind you. But sometimes I wonder. I just let you guys know that he is a law, just about to be become a lawyer, mind you, the crime chief. And speaking of bar, of course, it's not the bars I'm talking about, like the bars in West and the bars in other places. And, those are the bars, the Guinness bar, Dexter bar. Yeah, I'm not talking about those kind of bar. Actually, the Guyana Bar Association is a private entity, and they have been talking up so much during the course of elections and after elections. And every day they had a press release. And my question to you guys is, when was the last time you guys saw a press release from the Guyana Bar Association about these issues? Not long, right? You don't see anything. You don't see anything at all. Somebody's asking whether, I think Star Major, how are you? Some Godfrey Clark is asking, are you live? In response to Godfrey Clark, he's asking whether I'm live or not. No, Godfrey, I'm not live. Of course, I'm live, Godfrey. I'm live now. And there are all sorts of bars. The Guyana Bar Association, there's behind bars. You guys be careful with that behind bar stuff, right? Remember my 5 years. So I have a degree. I was admitted to the bar, right? Camp Street Bar. I mean, look, we all got to make mockery of these fools in the Guyana Police Force because that's what they are and that's what they're about. Roberto Gonzalez, que paso, mi amigo? A long time no see. Yeah, good to see that you're on the live with us today. But that's it. What else can we say before I go? I really, really have to go. What else can we say? All right, so we're out of here. Gotta go. God bless you. Stay tuned for our next broadcast, which is with former President David Arthur Granger. God bless you all.